Join us. This is a very low-key show.
Dello, Stritto, talking about movies.
Sorry I'm so tardy. I meant to call you earlier.
That's fine. Never mind.
So we got Charlie Chaplain movie. Say hi to Kate Genovese.
Oh, Kate, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine. Are you a guest or are you the co-host of the week?
I am a guest right now.
But she was invited to be co-host because she opened Visual Radio Live with me. She was one of my 2 guests that night.
Oh, wow. And when was that?
Like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And I think you were on that night too.
You know, I was there on the opening?
I think so, yeah, because you were on Soapbox with us, right?
I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah, you were on the Friday night show with us, and then you and I moved to Thursdays.
Yeah, I know. We started on Fridays, yeah.
And yes, so Kate launched the Thursday night show with me like 2 years ago.
All right, okay.
She lives up the street. She's a dear friend.
All right, so we're going to do 2 weeks of movies tonight, right?
Yes, and we have 10 minutes.
Okay, so 5 minutes on each. Cut me off.
All right, I will.
Okay. Okay, so tomorrow night you're showing 4 Chaplain shorts, 2 from 1914, 2 from 1916. I don't know if you're aware, but Joe, every time we do Chaplain shorts, you give me 4, and there's always 2 of them from 1914 and 2 from 1916.
Not me. Blame Anthony.
I'm crediting Anthony because this kind of spans his repertoire. He's in 1914. Chaplain, the Little Tramp, is not fully born. Certainly you see elements of it, but he's not really there yet. And of the 4 you've got, there's only one, which is The Floor Walker, which I would say is a real tramp comedy, where he is, you know, he's in a department store. Allegedly, I'm always nervous when people talk about the first this or the first that. But allegedly, this is the first movie that showed an escalator, and the escalator is very much a part of the plot. And the escalator emphasizes, as I've said in the past when you show silent comedies, the amount of physical exertion that goes into these comedy scenes, because there's no special effects, there's almost no editing to help them. And they are falling downstairs and getting up and running down and falling down a different way and then falling off the banister and all that. And
was he falling down the electric escalator?
Oh yeah,
wow.
I mean, the escalator is almost one of the major players in the film. It's only about I think this one's 19 minutes long.
Hey, Tom Cruise and the firm jumped the escalator along when the thugs were chasing him.
All right. Well, I would in a physical match, I would probably take Chaplain over Cruise. Chaplain was quite a physical specimen who did these things for years, and there's a simple scene where he just has to jump over a trunk. The trunk must be 3.5 feet tall, and he just jumps over it as if he was stepping it. And and that's easy to miss. And you sort of take them for granted after a while. But when you really pay attention and think what kind of physical exertion goes into this, it's really impressive.
And how old was he back then? 30?
Oh, he is in his physical prime. He's in his mid-20s, so it's not like he's an old man doing this. But he was still up to stuff when he was making the films in the 30s and 40s, The Great Dictator, Modern Times. There's still a lot of physical humor in them, and he is, he's pushing 50 by then. There is a very unique movie in the list, and that is the film called 1 A.M., which is another 1916 film. And he is not the little tramp in this. He is a drunk man who's had too much to drink, and he's just trying to get home and into bed. Of course, he can't find the key. There's 2 staircases in this movie, and he must fall down each of them a couple of times. So it's a lot of physical humor, but what it is there's no plot other than that, and except for the cab driver that drops him off in the first minute or so of the film, there's no other human being in it. So it's a one-man pantomime that goes on for, again, this is about 15 minutes long, and it's unique among them, because, usually he's getting into scrapes with other people, he finds himself offending the law or offending some rich guy or whatever, and the comedy comes from here, but here's just a bunch of physical jokes. And but it's unique at that because he's a one-man show on that. And the earliest of the Chaplain films you're showing is not actually a Chaplain film. It's a Mabel Normand film. Mabel's Strange Predicament stars Mabel Normand. And way back then, 1914, it was not uncommon for the comedians to have their names in the title. So Mabel Normand made a whole bunch of movies, Mabel's this and Mabel's that. She's only 19 years old in this movie. And this is the shortest of them. I think this is only 10 minutes. It's 1914. It's pretty crude stuff. I hope you have a decent print, because you may not. And this is the first time we've showed a Mabel Normand film. She's only 19. She will be dead at age 34.
Yikes.
Pretty much from cocaine and
Oh, my God.
wasting herself. She will be involved in 2 Hollywood scandals. The most famous one is the William Desmond Taylor murder, still an unsolved murder. This, I think it's forgotten by the general public today, but this rocked the nation in 1922, and she was probably the last person to see him alive. So she was right at the center of that. And again, it's never been officially solved. And
Was she a suspect?
then a year later, her chauffeur got into an argument with some millionaire at a party and shot him. Didn't kill him, but shot him. And the publicity was just horrendous. You know, was she his lover, her lover? Was she the lover of the chauffeur, the lover of the millionaire? Were they dual lovers? And things like that. And it just went out of sight. So her career was kind of on the downward spiral then, and Hollywood was really cracking down because the scandals were literally killing them. So you never, well, you don't see much of her after that, and she'll be dead soon, unfortunately.
Well, they hadn't been used to the National Enquirer type inquisition, but they were making stars, and that, of course, lent itself to people wanting to know what the stars were up to.
Yes, and it turned out the stars were up to a lot of no good. I mean, the newspapers, particularly the Hearst papers, had no trouble making Hollywood look like the modern Sodom and Gomorrah. And then in the early 20s just came, you know, the illegal scandals, which, you know, rose to murder well, we talked about Fatty Arbuckle's trial last week, which he was acquitted of, but he was charged with murder. And then there was, you know, the drugs, the alcohol, and this is Prohibition era, of course, and the sex. And, you know, Chaplain contributed that himself by he kept marrying these young women who would divorce him, and then he'd get these high-profile divorces. So Hollywood was really trying to clean up its image, and Mabel Normand, largely her own fault with the drugs and all that, was part of her own downfall.